Hi everybody, it's Claudia from Create with Claudia. Today I'm going to go over 42 different gift items for the quilter in your life. So I've been quilting for about 30 plus years, and I've compiled a list of my favorite gifts I've gotten, that sort of thing, and gift items that quilters can really use, from beginning quilters to expert quilters. If you are trying to find something for somebody, or you're a quilter giving something to somebody, there are all kinds of categories in this, but the bottom line is sometimes it's really hard coming up with gift items for your friends or family that are quilters. So I thought, I'm going to help you out. This is perfect for Christmas. It's perfect for birthdays, anniversaries, all kinds of things. If they're good for beginners, I'm going to put up a little flashing thing that says good for beginners. And then there are a couple of high ticket items too that I'm going to throw in there because, you never know if it's something really special you want to get somebody. But let's get started. Number one is gift cards from a local quilt shop or an online quilt shop, depending on where your friend lives. Gift cards are a great way. I will say some gifts are kind of hard to give quilters. There are especially like fabrics and things like that. People have very particular tastes, as you can imagine, you probably do too. And so it's kind of hard to go to a fabric store or something and pick out a bunch of fabrics for them or styles for them. I mean, you can do it too, and believe me, it's on my list. But a gift card is a really good way to go if you just have absolutely no idea what your friend likes. Local quilt shops all have them. I've gotten them before. And again, online stores have them too. So I highly recommend gift cards if you really are just stuck and you don't know which way to go. Another really good one, especially if you know what kind of brands and things they like, and you might want to ask them, especially if it's like a quilting friend, you can always say, hey, what are you using in your machine? Sewing machine needles. We're always needing these things. And you know what? They're nice. They're not super expensive for a pack or two. Maybe get a couple different sizes, throw them in a little gift bag, throw in some cookies or something like that, and make it a great gift. Okay, so there's that old joke about sewing scissors, or especially quilting scissors. These were given to me by my mother-in-law years ago for Christmas. I love my scissors, and I only use them for fabric, and nobody else is allowed to use them in my family. Scissors are a great way, and you can get some really pricey pairs or some that aren't so expensive. This is a really nice pair. I really love these. So scissors is a great way to go, and let me tell you, you can ask any quilter, we always need scissors. Marking tools. We always need marking tools to mark fabric. It's not something you really think about, but these are the kinds of things that maybe when you're at a quilt shop, a quilter might forget to buy, oh yeah, I forgot to get, marking tools. Or they're in the middle of getting ready to quilt a quilt and they're like, oh man, my marking tool ran out or something like that. So if you want something that isn't so expensive, marking tools are a really good way to go. There's pencils, this is water soluble. There are all kinds out there. Rotary cutters. Rotary cutters are a good gift, especially beginner. Here's a beginner alert for you. Everybody needs a rotary cutter when they're starting out to cut fabric, and a lot of times us old timers who've been quilting for a while need them too because ours get old or they get broken. I bought this new one because it has a nice safety catch on it, so I really like that one. So rotary cutters are a good way to go. Rulers. There are all shapes, all sizes. You might want to ask your friend what they need, or you can just maybe get an assortment. You can buy assortments of all of these things. You might get a pack of different shapes and different sizes. You can get long ones, skinny ones that are long. You can get square. I do recommend having a square one with a diagonal line. So if your friend doesn't have one, I highly recommend getting one of those, about 12 inches. That's probably my favorite ruler, is the square one with the diagonal line. I like the other ones too, but I really love that one. Cutting mat. Here we go. I'm just going to lift this up really quickly. This is my handy dandy. This is a big one. This is for my sewing table. I have some smaller ones too. Cutting mats are essential. And you can buy packs with a rotary cutter and a ruler and a cutting mat in it. That's a great idea for a beginner. But cutting mats do wear out. And so if you notice, if you're over there maybe quilting with your friend and you think, oh man, she needs a new rotary cutting mat, that's a great gift to get somebody. Snippers. These are little really easy little scissors to use. I didn't have them till a couple of years ago. I cannot live without my snippers. They have really nice ones. I have like 3 pairs of these now. I use them all the time. In fact, I use them more than my scissors, depending on what I'm doing. So I highly recommend, if you need like a stocking stuffer for somebody, or just like a little, take with present where you're going to somebody's house and you just want a little something for them, snippers are great. This is another one of these smaller ones, but it's something you always need. And a lot of these smaller ones, it's great. Maybe put a little basket together. Maybe they just started quilting, or they got a new quilt studio. Who knows? But pins, all kinds of long pins, really narrow, thin ones, depending on what they like. Pins are a great gift. And, we're always needing more pins. I'm always bending my pins, and I do sew on them sometimes, which is a big no-no, but unfortunately it bends them. So I'm always buying new pins. I run out of them all the time. So I got these again a few years ago. I'm not a huge pinner, but I do use them. And then about, I don't know how many years ago, I bought clips. I love these clips. They are really handy. My husband likes them too, because I also drop my pins and he steps on them. So these clips are great. I've really started using them a lot. Here's another great idea for a beginner, a seam ripper. Now this one isn't real fancy. This is just a plastic handle one. I have seam rippers in almost every room in my house because I sew in every room of my house, especially if I'm doing some handwork or something. I've seen online and in stores, beautiful seam rippers with like hand carved handles and that sort of thing. So if you want a real special gift for somebody, a beautiful seam ripper, or even one like this, if you're, putting together a little gift basket or something, is great. But those seam rippers are I've seen some really beautiful ones. So seam ripper. Something else that's fun for quilters to get, and you can get some really beautiful ones. This is from my husband's aunt. I got this. It's actually a wool felted one with some beading on it. I love this, and I use it all the time. So a pin cushion is a really useful item. And again, like the seam ripper, you can get some really decorative ones if you go to craft shows and things like that. So pin cushions. All right, another one, a pressing mat, a wool pressing mat. This is an alpaca wool one. They have all kinds of different kinds. I love these, and I have started to swear by these, especially when I'm piecing my blocks together. It makes your pressing so much sharper. I don't know why, I don't know how it does it, but it really is worth an investment. You can get all sorts of sizes. This is a smaller one. I also have a bigger one, but I love my wool pressing mat. An iron. I know it sounds like a no-brainer, and who wants to give somebody an iron? But you know what? Quilters love having an iron in their sewing space. I have one in my bedroom that I use for clothes, but I definitely have one down here in my studio as well. And they're all kinds of types and sizes. You might want to ask your friend what his or her favorite is, but an iron is a great way to go. Along the lines of an iron is an ironing board. Again, you're going to need 2 of them if you like to iron where you sew. And like in my case, again, I have one ironing board upstairs in our bedroom, and then I have one down here in the basement. Okay, this one's just a little bit more subjective, but batting. We all need batting when we're putting together quilts. Here's just some batting I have on my shelf. It's a really nice Hobbs batting. You might want to ask your friend what he or she uses, or hit up your local quilt store and get some suggestions. Say, hey, I have a friend who maybe is just starting out, or I have a friend who needs batting. What should I get? Maybe I'll get her a roll of batting. I know some of these are sort of very utilitarian, but you know what? It's kind of nice getting those, because sometimes you don't have time to get to the store, or, hey, I'm right in the middle of finishing this quilt and I need some batting. Batting is a great idea. Okay, this is the most subjective of them all, in my opinion. Well, maybe not, but it's one of that's probably tied for first, is fabric. So everybody has different tastes in fabric. This is like a little set of fat quarters, really pretty sort of mint colors. They have all kinds. If you go to a local quilt shop, they have all kinds of packs of these, larger ones, smaller ones. These are nice, especially for a beginner. If you maybe buy this and a quilt pattern, what a great combo, and they can make a little quilt for themselves. But again, fabric is very subjective, so here might be one of those cases where you say, maybe I'll just get them a gift card instead. Or if you know that maybe mint green is their favorite color, well, here you go. Or they're looking maybe to make a baby quilt in certain colors, or they've even told you what fabric they want. But fabric, we all Every quilter will tell you they love fabric, so fabric is a nice one. Now, if you don't want to buy specific fabric, there are some great fabric subscription clubs out there. There's different websites that you can go to where they send members a box of fabric every single month. They even have shorter ones, maybe every other month or maybe every half year. You have to look at various websites and decide which one is best for your friend. But that might be a way to go, and then they get a big assortment of different colors of fabric. That's a good one also maybe for a beginner who has no fabric and needs a place to start. All right, every quilter needs it. Every quilter uses it. Thread. And this is Aurifil thread. They have great packs with different colors. If they are just starting out, I would recommend more neutrals, like maybe they have a pack, I think it's of white, gray, and black, or maybe, that kind of thing, or maybe off-white. But thread is something we all need, we all use, and it's worth it. And you can get some really nice thread. Aurifil thread is really nice. And like I said, you can get nice little gift boxes for that. If your friend has said, hey, I want to learn how to quilt, why not sign them up for a quilting class? That's a great gift. You give them a little gift, gift certificate and says, hey, this is good for one class or maybe a 6-week class, depending on where you live. If you have a rec center that's teaching quilting, or again, a local quilt shop that has quilt classes, there's a great gift. Maybe you're a member of a quilt guild or your friend is thinking about joining one. Why not pick up their membership? It's an easy way. You don't have to pick out any specific gift, but say, hey, I'd like to give you this gift of this Quilt Guild membership. Excuse me, that's hard to say. And that's a nice thought, and it's a great way for your friend also to get out of the house and meet some new quilter friends. Quilt magazine subscription. There are some gorgeous quilt magazines out there, and they're not all hard copies. They're online ones as well. People love to get quilt magazines. At least I do, and I think I'm going to say I should speak for almost all quilters that they love to look at a magazine with quilts in it. Maybe not everybody, but I'm going to guess like 99% of us do. But it's so much fun to look at all the designs, the colors, the fabrics, and just you get so much inspiration out of them. So a quilt magazine subscription is a great way to go. An organizer of some kind, like a tote or something. Here's this one. I'm going to hide my face for a second. Love this carrying organizer. I have my patterns in it, that sort of thing. It has like a zip pouch on the side. I'll move that out of the way. I do love my organizer, and it's great, especially if you go to a quilt retreat or a guild meeting and you need to carry some things. An organizer like that's a great idea, and it can do double duty for other things too. Quilt books are a great gift. Here's one, this is one of many I have on my bookshelf down in my studio. I love quilt books. I love to thumb through them. And let's face it, in a quilt book, you usually get a bunch of free patterns. The other thing is if you have a beginner friend who's starting out, get a beginning quilting book that sort of takes you through all the steps, the nuts and bolts of what they need to know how to do. So quilt books are a great idea. Quilt patterns. Here's one actually. This is the pattern for the one that's on the wall behind me. I call it Churning Up a Storm. I sell these. A quilt pattern is a great way. This is a great gift to combine with fabric. Let's say on the back of most quilt patterns there are fabric requirements. So maybe you have a friend that's just starting out. You can get them a pattern and some fabric and maybe a few other of these little things and give them a whole gift basket. That would be a great idea. But there are many quilt patterns to choose from. And again, it's a very subjective thing. What you might love, they might not like, vice versa. But you have a general idea of, whoever you're giving your gifts to, what they might like. So quilt patterns. So along the lines of quilt patterns are quilt kits. If you go to any online store or any local quilt shop, they will sell you quilt kits, which are awesome. You get the pattern, you get the fabric. The only thing most of them, and I'm not speaking for all of them, but most of them will not have the backing, but some do. So again, you'll have to read it carefully. But a quilt kit, it has everything in it you need. Probably doesn't have the batting either. So I'm going to say batting, and sometimes it doesn't have the backing. So you'll have to read carefully. But a quilt kit is a great way to go and a great starter item for somebody who is new. Or let's say some quilt kits are really ornate and really detailed and beautiful. So if a friend of yours has been eyeing a certain pattern by a famous designer, pick that up for them. They'd probably love it. So So now we're getting into some big ticket items. And they can be, now this first one can be low ticket or big ticket. Quilt display racks. I have, and I'm going to show you some pictures too. You've been seeing some pictures all along in this video. Here's just a small one you can hang on the wall. It's a metal one. I have this one behind me that you see where there's like a little mini quilt on it. I also have a lot of quilt racks that hang on the wall. I have a beautiful wooden one that was given to us for my wedding, from my husband's grandmother, and we still put my quilts on that. Just a beautiful hand-carved wooden one. So display racks are a great idea for a quilter who is starting to get a lot of them, or maybe just starting out and wants to show off their work. Before I go on to the next big ticket items, I do want to highly recommend you talk to your friend and say, hey, I want to buy you something. Or maybe you know exactly what they want, or they've said, hey, this is what I want for Christmas. Believe me, I tell my husband that sometimes. I'm like, hey, this would be a good gift for me for Christmas. But you definitely want to check with them, because you don't want to invest a lot of money and then it turns out it's not quite the right thing. But the next thing I would say for sort of a big ticket item is a storage system. There are some incredible units out there, big, small, tall, wide, whatever you need. And quilters, they will tell you we always need storage ideas for all the fabric, all those little things I went over earlier. We need storage for those. So a really cool storage system would be nice, especially if they have a new studio or they have a room that they're just setting up. A design wall. Yes, you can buy design walls. They're portable ones. They're all kinds of sizes and things like that. It's a great idea, especially for somebody who's really into designing quilts and really wants to get into it more. Again, it's something you probably want to make sure they have the space for it, or you know what they're looking for, but it's a little bit of a different gift. It's not something you would think of normally to get somebody. So a design wall. Another big ticket item is a fabric cutting system. They're small ones, they're big ones, they're electric ones, they're manual ones. They're a lot to choose from. They're great for cutting lots of fabric. I use my design software all the time. So design software, again, you need to make sure you know what their computer is and if it works with their computer. I use Electric Quilt 8, love it. Most of my quilts, almost all of my quilts are designed in Electric Quilt 8. So it's something fun, especially if your friend's really interested in designing more quilts, that kind of thing. All right, here's a really big ticket item. A sewing machine. You probably can't see it in the video. Definitely check with your friend and make sure that that's the one they want. And they can be very big ticket or very small ticket items. In fact, when my husband and I were dating, he got me a sewing machine. Not the one I use now, but definitely a sewing machine is a great idea, especially if your friend's trying to bump up to a higher, maybe a nicer one or whatever. Or somebody just another beginner. Just get them there's so many nice sewing machines, and there are a lot that aren't really pricey either. So, but it is a bigger ticket item than some of the other ones that I've been talking about. Here's some fun little items that are a little bit smaller, and they're not nearly as pricey as a sewing machine, but they're fun to have, and it may not be directly related to making a quilt or anything, but they're just fun to give to quilters. Note cards. This is a note card I actually got from somebody. There's so many pretty patterns out there. Look online or look at your local quilt shop. A lot of times you'll see they have packs of note cards. Quilting novels or mysteries, that kind of thing. There are a lot out there. You'd be surprised. There are all kinds of series of quilter mysteries and that kind of thing. I know I love reading them. Look online or look at your local quilt shop. I think that might be your best way to stop, because I like to see things hands-on first, and then of course I'll look online if I can't find anything in the local ones. But a lot of times they even have like quilter novels, and they're sort of fun and again a little bit different. Another idea for a quilter friend, if you don't want to give them or you don't know what they can use for sewing, that kind of thing, are puzzles. There are lots of really pretty quilt patterns in puzzles, so that's a fun one. T-shirts. Who doesn't love a t-shirt? I mean, I live in t-shirts 99% of the time, and there are some really pretty quilt ones with quilt blocks or funny sayings, that kind of thing. Stickers are really in now. In fact, I designed a few I sell over on my Etsy shop. This is Happiness is a Half Square Triangle. Now is not the time with a seam ripper. Here's a really pretty block. and then working our scraps off. Stickers are a great idea, especially for somebody who collects stickers. I know there are a lot of sticker collectors out there, and again, you see them now all the time. So stickers are fun. That's a great, like a little stocking stuffer if you just need something for somebody really quick, or maybe, you know, like a gift exchange type thing. Maybe throw some stickers in there too. Jewelry. There is some really pretty quilt jewelry. You can find it sometimes at quilt shows and that kind of thing. You probably cannot see this. These are really little. I'll probably show a picture of that. Little ceramic that have a gorgeous, like a New York Beauty or a compass block on them. And I've had these earrings for years. I wish I could find out who made them. This was many, many, many years ago at a craft show, and I love them. But jewelry's a fun way that you can give them some earrings or a ring or a bracelet or something like that. Mugs, or glasses. I got this at a quilt show. It says, "A quilter lives here." Love it. I always bring it down with me to my studio, so I'm drinking all my water. I'm staying hydrated. There's some great mugs. By the Yard has some really funny comic ones, so if you know your friend's a coffee drinker, a mug would be a fun way to go. I actually have a link in my description. I am an affiliate, so you can buy them. I do earn a commission on that, but no extra charge to you. But By the Yard has some funny comic ones, and there's some other fun ones too, like this. I love this hot and cold drink cup. Calendars. Who doesn't need a calendar? You just throw it up on your wall, especially if you have a quilt studio. This is just last year's calendar that I have here. Again, By the Yard has lots of fun ones, and they have fun comics on them too. But there are so many different beautiful quilt calendars, and again, they're pretty inspiring because each month it's a different quilt or comic or whatever it is. So calendar is a fun way to go, and it's not so expensive. Two more to go, and I actually thought of these later. So this would have been more in the beginning where you just, sort of helping quilters out. Especially this is good for a beginner. A color wheel. People don't have to use these. This is just something to help out people with a little bit of color selection. They're all kinds of shapes and sizes. This one, it sort of tells you what some good color combinations might be. So a color wheel. And last but not least, number 42 is, and again, this is one I thought, this I probably put in the big ticket items, but again, I thought of those a little bit after the fact. A floor lamp, and I do use mine when I'm binding. I have a floor lamp, and I'll have to show you a picture of it next to my chair in front of the TV. And it's one of those really great, really bright lights, which I really need because I'm getting older and I need a little bit of extra help when I can't see those little needles anymore. But a floor lamp is a good one. Again, another one, though, you might want to ask your friend. So there you have it. There are my 42 gifts for quilters. A little bit of everything, and I'm sure you can think of more. If you have ideas that you've given your friends or you've gotten, drop me a line in the comments. I'd love to know what they are. There's so many things you can get for quilters. I know you kind of fixate, you think, oh, fabric or something like that. And don't get me wrong, we all love fabric, but there's so many other gift ideas that you can think of too. And something a little more unique. And a lot of them are great for beginners or experienced quilters. I often need little things that I run out of or that break. So you got to keep all those different things in mind. In my video description, I do have a link to my Amazon store, which has a lot of these products. I do earn a slight commission at no extra cost to you on that. And then I mentioned before the By the Yard. There's a link to that as well in my video description. So now you're all set. If you have a friend, a quilter friend that you need to get a gift for, try one of these things. I hope they work out for you. I really appreciate you watching. Have a great day.